You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Thursday, July 16th. Thank you guys for joining us. However you are taking part in the program, however you're checking things out, we greatly appreciate it. It's kind of TGIF for me. I know it's not Friday, but I'm about ready to go on vacation. We leave tomorrow, so no show tomorrow. A packed show for you today. Super excited about today's show, and then no shows next week as well. So I feel like, you know, when you're in school and summer breaks, like right around the corner and you're in school for the last day, that's kind of how I feel today. So a lot to get to on today's show, though. We're not punting on today's show by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of great stuff to get to here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribing. If you have, thank you. If you have not subscribed, do it. And then comment, like, all those kind of things that help us out, and then tell all your friends so that everybody subscribes and everybody's happy. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for that. We are also live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. So if you're watching us via that app, we appreciate that as well. We're streaming on the WHO Plus streaming app. We do that every single morning at 10 a.m. We've appreciated it. We've enjoyed it. We thank our viewers in Central Iowa, getting close to a year doing that with WHO as well. So we're excited about you guys watching the show as well. And then, of course, you can check out the show on the podcasting platforms as well. Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Put it Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Listen to the show. You don't have to look at me. You just have to listen, and a lot of great things to listen to on today's show as well. Before we get too far into the show, so don't forget, a very special happy 60th birthday to my good friend Don Umland. And if anyone knows Don here in the Quad Cities, he's, I'm trying to say this nicely. I almost said a fantastic, but I can't be too nice. He's a referee, an umpire, refs basketball and football as well. He is PepsiCo on Augustana's campus for Augustana College. He's a good umpire and referee. See, Don, there's your birthday gift. Don turned 60 today. So if you know Don, reach out to him, tell him happy birthday. The old man turned 60. Don, happy birthday, my friend. Appreciate you and your friendship as well. A lot to get to on today's show. Coming up in a matter of moments, we have Tyler Tachman on the show. Tyler back from vacation. A lot to talk about. The Iowa basketball team held another open practice to the media yesterday, and a lot of interesting things came about, observations as well. Tyler will fill us in on those. That's his first time seeing the Iowa basketball team in an open practice this offseason. He was on vacation the last time they had one of those. So eager to get Tyler's thoughts on that. Also, football availability yesterday. The Iowa football team allowed several players, including new wide receiver Tony Diaz, Hank Brown, and others to chat with the media. So we'll get his thoughts on what he learned from an open session with football, because, guys, football season is right around the corner. It's crazy how fast it's coming, and there's a lot to be excited about for Iowa football. Obviously, the quarterback position is going to dominate the headlines moving forward, but Tyler will break down what he learned yesterday in Iowa City as well. After that, later in hour number 1, we've got the University of Iowa's all-time leading scorer's father, Luka Garza's dad, Frank Garza, joining us on the show. The Garzas are doing another round of camps here in Iowa this summer. It's the Luka Garza Academy. It's been in the Quad Cities before. It's been all over the state before. Central Iowa this year. We'll talk about where it's coming to, what it's like. It's far from your normal camp. It's quite an experience. It's a great experience. So we'll talk to that. We'll talk about Luka's fantastic season in the NBA, a breakthrough season with Boston Celtics. And then we'll also get Frank's thoughts on the Garza's thoughts of Iowa basketball. Obviously, Fran no longer there. The Elite Eight with Ben McCollum. Obviously, always going to be tied with the University of Iowa. Luka is. And so some great conversation coming up with Frank Garza in just a little bit later in hour number 1 of the show. And then later in August, coming up early August, I should say, in a few weeks, Luka Garza will be right here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo as well. So a lot to get to with Frank Garza. It's also Thursday, which is my Friday. We might try to sneak in a little Friday rewind as well. Talk about some of the moments from this week as well. We've had Jack Heflin on the show. We've had Tom Kakert on the show. Brian Stocking dominated yesterday. Yesterday was a Brian Stocking day. If anyone in the Quad Cities doesn't know who Brian Stocking is, watch yesterday's show. He is a legend in the Quad Cities when it comes to sports. We had a great time here in studio with Brian Stocking. We also had Stockpile Snacks. If you don't know what that is, go check it out. Brian is the pickiest eater in the entire world, so we made him try 3 average normal foods here on the show. We did it back a couple years ago at WQAD with with Camille Gear and Corey Kuffler. We all enjoyed doing that. So he tried a sausage biscuit, a blueberry, and a cinnamon roll, and he only liked one of them. So, I mean, that's just how picky he is. Those are ballpark, easy foods that everybody should like, and Brian spit it up in a trash can. So go check it out from yesterday's show as well. Before we get to the show today and our guests, a huge night of baseball last night. What a game over at Pleasant Valley. The Spartans walking off Bettendorf in 10 innings to win that game. The PV wins 1-0. They're heading to state. It was Jackson O'Melia with the walk-off winner scoring Evan Barr. And another dominant pitching performance, both sides. Lincoln Dalton, the starter for Pleasant Valley, was amazing as usual, as advertised, if you will. And then Jackson Hattler for Bettendorf, really good as well. 2 really good baseball teams. PV moves on to state. Bettendorf can't quite get it done for the second straight year. They went to state last year and had a great run last year. So congratulations once again to Pleasant Valley. Also in 3A, Assumption beats Solon 12-4. The Knights are awesome. They're really, really good. They're going to state once again as well. So congratulations to both those MAC teams. Durant heading to state as well. I think Burlington, Notre Dame for baseball wise in our area. If you're watching this all over the state, I'm not going over everything. You can go look it up. Quad Cities wise, PV, Burlington, and Durant heading to state softball wise as well. So it'll be a busy week next week when it comes to state success, softball and baseball. And then we're going to follow it up the next week. So hopefully we get a state winner or 2 and we can talk about it the following week right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. That would be a bunch of fun as well. As for today's show, we're going to start talking Iowa. We're going to start talking Iowa basketball, and it was another busy day in Iowa City. All eyes on Carver Hawkeye Arena yesterday morning. So joining us now back from his luxurious vacation back home,
that's
Tyler
a stretch.
Tachman.
That's a real stretch.
Hey, you recharged the battery, right?
I did a little bit, yeah.
That's important.
I would say that.
How was vacation, my friend?
It was good. I'm a pretty bad vacation taker, I would say, but I just went home and didn't do a whole lot. Just kind of spent time with family, and so it was nice during the slower part of the summer to just take some time away.
No, I hear you. See, I'm probably more a vacationer like you, so we're leaving tomorrow for the Pacific Northwest. Super excited. I've been there when I was younger. Great to take the kids back. The kids are excited, but I sometimes get exhausted from my vacations. I always tell my wife I need a vacation from my vacation when I get back because we just go nonstop. So I don't mind a low-key vacation. That's not a bad thing to do at all. You get back to Iowa City. Go ahead.
No, but you have 3 kids, right?
Four.
4.
Yeah.
So I don't have 4 kids, so I can understand how for you that's more of a handful.
My wife, bless her, is like we just do. We go. And that's fine. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do and stuff. But ever so often you want to catch your breath and be like, I come back and I'm like, I'm exhausted from my vacation. It's a very good thing. And we're super excited to go. I'm going to get myself in trouble with my wife. So I got to be careful, Tyler. You get back to Iowa City and there's a lot going on. I want to start with basketball. Obviously, this is the second open media practice. You weren't at the first one. So this was kind of your first look at what is a new look Iowa team without Bennett Sturts, without a few familiar faces. I guess overall headline before we get into the details of players and all those kind of things. What were your thoughts of the open media session of practice in general?
the two most impressive players to me were Trevin Urach and Cooper Koch. Trevin scoring the ball was impactful. He made a three, and he didn't shoot well last season as a freshman, but his mechanics look good, and I think that there's a lot more in the tank in terms of his shooting percentage. He got downhill, finished at the rim. And then there was one possession defensively where he got switched on to Tate. Sage, obviously a smaller, quicker guy, did a tremendous job moving his feet, staying in front of him, and ultimately got the steal. So he was impressive, in my opinion. The other guy, Cooper Koch, we already know about his shooting. He's a sniper. He was one of the key parts in the supporting cast around Bennett Sturts last season and getting Iowa to the Elite Eight. But it was the other layers of his game that really stood out to me during the practice. His rebounding, his defense, his finishing around the rim. He at one point had just a clean steal, went down to the other end, threw down a two-handed jam. Another one, he made a real slick move in transition on Trey Thompson to get to his right hand. And so I think that there's more layers to Cooper Koch's game and more ways that he can make an impact than just shooting, because that's something that we already know is in his repertoire. And Ben McCollum, I thought it was a little eye-opening. He made the comments about Cooper Koch that he is someone that's he looks like someone that's becoming a program cornerstone, like someone that is going to be like a leader moving forward for this program. And now this is his third year in the program. He's been through a lot with his freshman season being cut short due to the medical issue, and then the coaching change last season, getting acclimated to Ben McCollum's system. But now it feels like he's really getting settled into his time as a Hawkeye. So I think those, to me, were like the two biggest standouts from the open period.
I want to stick with Cooper because he was really good on the floor last year, especially late. But he became, everybody remembers the Gator Chomp, and he became that, almost emotional leader. And some of the sound that I heard from him, and Iowa sent out some sound as well, just kind of talk about embracing that role. Can you talk to that? Because, there's even talk of kind of being a villain a little bit, but he's leading on the floor in actions, but I got a feeling he's going to be that vocal leader or that leader when it comes to off the floor stuff as well.
Now I felt like toward the end of last year, you could really see that fire coming out, that competitiveness. And it's an interesting contrast because he is a quieter guy off the court and more reserved. And then you see him on the court, and there's definitely that fire and that competitiveness there. It's funny because Peyton Sandfort kind of, when he was teammates with Cooper Koch, saw some similarities in himself. And I feel like Peyton was a guy that kind of wore his heart on his sleeve and was really, he would show his emotions. And I don't think Cooper is showing it to that extent yet, but I see a little bit of that in him, of that competitiveness and that drive and that will to win. And that's part of the Ben McCollum, I would say, culture, is just that competitiveness, that being a dog, making those gritty winning plays. And he averaged 3.1 rebounds per game last season, which it's not terrible for someone who's 6'8". I think there's more there, and that's where him being able to make those winning plays outside of just being able to knock down threes, of being able to grab that loose ball, being able to take guys off the dribble. There are other layers to his game that I think can really be unlocked in the future here.
Your first look at this team this offseason, obviously you're going to glance at that 7'3" guy and some of the newer guys, Coleman as well, some of the new freshmen. Can you talk about the newer faces you've seen? You wanted to look at the development of some of the guys coming back, but talk to me about the newcomers. I mean, I know it's a short sample size. You're not in there the entire practice, but obviously you're going to get a look at those guys. Andrew McKeever is, as advertised, 7'3", it sounds like. Your thoughts on the new guys?
Yeah, he's big. One of the other things that stood out to me during the practice was Trevin Urach and McKeever played together. Mm-hmm. So that's 7'3" and 6'11" playing together. And on top of that, Cooper Koch was in a lineup with them as well. So that's 6'8", 6'11", 7'3" playing together. That's the type of lineup flexibility that Iowa the size they didn't have last season. They couldn't roll out those types of lineups because, one, they didn't have someone that was 7'3", and two, Trevin Urach played really sporadic minutes. If he can be someone that can take on bigger responsibilities, you just have you can still play smaller. You could still play Cam Manny out at the 5, but you also have the ability to go bigger. So I think that this Iowa team will have more lineup flexibility. I've liked, from the small sample size, what I've seen from Ethan Harris. He's someone that Ben McCollum is just stockpiling these 6'7" to 6'9" guys that are really long, athletic. Ethan Harris fits that mold, 6'9", operates like a guard. It was someone that Gonzaga and Washington were going after. So when you talk about Gonzaga in the Pacific Northwest, that's a big time program. And then, I think all the newcomers are fitting in pretty well so far. Jaden Kuhn, he brings athleticism. He also brings length. Was originally supposed to go to Creighton and then ended up changing course to go to Iowa. And then Tyreek Coleman, I think defensively they like what they've seen from him. He has length and activity in terms on the ball defense. I would not expect him to be like the Bennett Sturts replacement right now. Like, I think that chatter should totally be shut down. And that's not to take anything away from him, but I think you just expect, they bring in a point guard from the portal. He's going to be the guy that fills the shoes of Bennett Sturts. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I think he'll be a good rotational piece for Iowa this season. And then down the road, he could become that star, but I think it's going to be a by committee of filling Bennett Sturts' production. And then, maybe someone like Tate Sage takes on even more of a workload. But I think all the newcomers, at least at this point, and it's still early, like, have a chance to make somewhat of an impact in their first season in the program.
It's interesting, Tyler, because I think in the first open practice, Tate's name got brought up a lot. Coleman, I think. Ethan Harris, people talked a lot about the last practice. This time you hear the same. You hear Cooper Koch, you hear Trevin Urach, and then you start thinking, Tyler, there's 10 guys back. There's 4 newcomers. I think one of the most fascinating things this season is going to be how this all comes together. And I don't think we know the answers. I'm not going to sit here to say right now and say, Tyler, who are the starters and who's the top 9 rotation? But we know that's 14 dudes. There's not enough basketballs to go around. I think, is that one thing that jumps out to you, is they do have a loaded roster, if that makes sense, of quality and quantity, I guess, as well, where there's 14 guys that got to figure out how this all splits up come November, December.
And part of the difference from last season, that you don't have that guy coming into the season that's like, he's a projected first round pick. Like, there was that Bennett Sturts was that clear 1A guy, and this, at least entering this season, there isn't that. So I think it's a thing where it's going to be a more balanced team, and you're maybe not going to have that clear alpha, at least entering the season. And that's something that maybe that emerges. Maybe that's Tate Sage. Maybe that's Cooper Koch. Maybe that's someone else. But it's on paper at least going to be more balanced, where you have waves of guys, and this could be a potentially deep team. And maybe one game it's Tate Sage that's going to be the playmaker, and one game it's going to be Tyreek Coleman, and in one game it's Andrew McKeever. The other thing that I would say is I would expect Iowa's bigs, Trevin Urach and Andrew McKeever, like, I would expect Iowa to run a lot of offense through them, because they're both really good passers and they're both big. They can see over the defense. I think that'll be a difference from last season, where Bennett Sturts was kind of the main playmaker and creator. I think Iowa, they have the players who have the skill sets, like the kind of point forward in a sense, like the passing ability to run offense through their big guys. I think that's going to be a difference in Iowa's offense this season, where you might see them. Iowa did a little bit of that with Alvaro Folgueras last season, because he had that passing ability, but he just had such a roller coaster of a season. But I think now that Iowa has 2 bigs with Urach and Andrew McKeever, that you can run offense through and that are really good passing. I would think that Iowa at least has that in their arsenal offensively this season.
Tyler Tachman joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. Tyler, you get to watch practice, which is important, and the media loves that. But then you get to talk to some guys. What'd you learn afterwards? Anything jump out afterwards? Talking to, I know you got Cooper yesterday and several others. What'd you learn afterwards? Just talking to some of these guys.
I would say, well, one of the things that stood out to me this offseason was, and it might be overlooked a little bit, is the retention. That Iowa did an incredible job retaining guys. And that might be in part because there's a lot of playing time was kind of open. It's not like there was a real log jam in terms of, okay, this guy is definitely going to play this many minutes and this guy's definitely going to play this many minutes. But just getting a sense for why they're staying at Iowa. And some of these are Iowa guys, like Trevin Urach is from Iowa. Peyton McCollum, who we talked to, his dad is obviously the coach. But I think it also speaks to the Cale Combs followed Ben McCollum from Drake, and Cam Maniow followed Ben McCollum from Drake. The other thing I think I'll say I learned talking to Peyton McCollum is he's been through two difficult injuries. Like he missed an extended period with the injury during the season. Then when he basically was kind of coming back from that and just getting back into the rhythm of things, got hurt again. So he's now back, but he's missed a lot of time. And I've heard good things about him behind the scenes of being someone that can be impactful. And maybe he's not someone that jumps off the page with his size or anything, but someone that can be another ball handler. Because last season, Iowa basically operated with two, Bennett Sturts and Cale Combs. This season, I think Iowa has a lot more options. They don't have that clear Bennett Sturts type playmaker, but they have Cale Combs. Tate Sage is handling the ball more. You have the bigs that can handle it and pass. Peyton McCollum is, if he's getting some types of minutes, he can handle the ball. So I think that Iowa, they have more diversity in terms of the ball handlers too, and having more guys that can create offense. Whereas last season, there was just so much that was relying on Bennett Sturts.
Tyler Tachman here on Off There with Matt Randazzo. Last basketball question for you. You look and I think there's excitement. I think the media is impressed with what they've seen. I think the fan base is super impressed, and it's often an Elite Eight, and expectations are high. And then you look at some national stuff. John Rothstein comes out yesterday, and Iowa's 11th, I think, at the Big Ten is what he had in his – no, but mind you, the Big Ten's loaded and good once again. Is there a disconnect between what maybe the state or fans or Iowa has expectation-wise of this team and the national media? And if so, where's the disconnect? Is it because Bennett's playing in the NBA?
Absolutely, because I was actually surprised to see the lack of national buzz this offseason, not so much from a recruiting standpoint, because I think that has been there, but more so from where is this team stand heading into the 2026-2027 season, because you just came off of the program's first Elite Eight since 1987, and Ben McCollum has completely changed the trajectory of the program. So me thinking that has been like, oh, then, that's something I think national people would probably take notice of. And even going into last season, there was some national buzz about Iowa because Ben McCollum and Bennett Sturts, like that to me is where a lot of it came, but that was a product of just those two guys coming from Drake. And I've been surprised by the lack of maybe respect that Iowa has gotten nationally entering the season. I think it's partially because, in my opinion, just like the reason that Iowa football kind of gets overlooked is that it's Iowa. It's not like the flashy headline, it doesn't have the type of, I guess, national brand that like a Ohio State or Michigan or, some of these other bigger programs in college basketball might have. But I think that Iowa is going to be really good again. I don't how good, how far, can they follow up? It's going to be hard to follow up an Elite Eight appearance, but I think in the regular season this team has a real chance to outperform what they did last season, because there were those games last season where they should have won. I mean, to be completely honest, the Penn State game and the Maryland game in particular, you could even point to the Minnesota game at the road. That's 3 Big Ten wins that Iowa could have easily had in their favor. So I think even without Bennett Sturts, that Iowa, they have I feel confident they're going to outperform their Big Ten record from last season.
And then March is March. We know that firsthand as Iowa fans. Tyler Tachman joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Basketball has everyone talking summer-wise, and there's an excitement. Tyler, we're going to blink, and football season's here. I know you got chance to chat with some players yesterday before you went over to basketball practice. One of those guys was Tony Diaz. Has everybody excited, and it hasn't taken a snap at the University of Iowa. From what I've heard, he's a pretty good soundbite as well, pretty good interview as well. Your thoughts on getting to know Tony a little bit and what you got from him yesterday?
He's an interesting story because he went to UT Rio Grande Valley. That's where he started his career. He was there for 2 seasons. The first season, they didn't play games. So it's like a weird thing where I don't know the exact backstory as to why, but they didn't play games the first season, so he redshirted. And he said they did stuff to kind of simulate games to make it as much as a game as possible. And then he just had a tremendous season when they were playing games last season. And going in the portal, he was a guy that was highly sought out. He got an Alabama offer. People wanted him. And that's the type of guy that you don't necessarily think about Iowa being able to get. And one of the things he said was during that transfer portal process, something that was important to him was going to a place that not only cared about their players on the field, but off the field. And he really felt that when he was being recruited by Iowa on his visit. And he still feels like he made the right decision in terms of just the culture that Iowa has. So you can credit an early assist from the culture at Iowa to be able to get a guy like that. Now, I think he can be really good because we've heard great things about him. Now, we've never seen him play a snap in an Iowa uniform. I feel like at this point with Iowa wide receivers, I'm very much just I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be real with that, especially because whatever quarterback wins the starting job is not going to be a very experienced guy at the college level. So I'm just not – the pieces in the passing game, I'm still very much in the wait and see mode. And maybe it could be really good, but there's just been years of Iowa brings in X or Y transfer portal receiver, hopes get up, and it just hasn't turned out that way. Can Tony Diaz, Evan James from Furman, those were 2 big name guys that Iowa brought in. Can they be different? And another big question for me is, can they stay healthy? Because that was Seth Anderson was in and out. Caleb Brown from Ohio State never really got his footing fully. So can those guys stay healthy, stay on the field, and then deliver this kind of preseason hype that Iowa fans are not new to hearing around these new receivers?
It's crazy, Tyler, because Tom Kaker was on earlier this week. We talked about his fearless forecast of 4th of July. He does his picks of the Iowa schedule, but he does some bold predictions. And Iowa still hasn't had a receiver get over 500 yards receiving since 2019. And he had 2 of them, and which is a bold prediction, but I go back and I said, Tom, who's the quarterback? I think that's before you get over the fact, and I'm not being the negative guy either, but super excited about these players. I think they're super talented. I think Reese is going to have a fantastic season as well. But before you get to that, you have to figure out the quarterback side of things first, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And the other part of the equation is Iowa's running game has been so good that it's you don't need to totally air the ball out. When you have a Caleb Johnson who you can just hand the ball off to and make plays. And last season you saw that some with Kamari Moulton And now you bring in, I mean, the running back room is loaded this season with Kamari Moulton, Nathan McNeil, Xavier Williams. You bring in LJ Phillips from South Dakota. So, and then you have a newer quarterback coming in. It's like, I would just temper expectation. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to see Tony Diaz play. I wish we had been able to get him to see him during the spring open practice. He was hurt for that. He wasn't available. But I'm really excited to see what he brings. I think I've just been worn down like some fans have been about just the stories that haven't turned out the way that people had hoped, and the preseason hype has not been reflected in the on-field production. But yes, like you said, some of that is dependent on the quarterback play. You know, at some point in 2023, it just wasn't there. Jackson Stratton, that's a tough situation for him to be in. But you have to have it matters who's throwing the ball to the wide receiver. I think they go hand in hand, right? When you talk about Iowa's passing game and the fact that it hasn't totally gained traction, it's like it's both sides of the equation. It's the receiving game and it's the quarterback that are at fault for that.
I always tell fans, and it's funny because, and even Iowa fans, is like people are really excited after these open practices for basketball, and I think you can be. But if you listen to another fan base say, hey, in July we got 45 minutes of the basketball team and they're amazing, we'd be like, it's July and it's an open practice. Like, it's kind of the same thing with these expectations. You know, if another fan base, if Iowa State was sitting here saying, hey, we got this football player that's really good, what'd you see from him? We've never seen him. We'd be like, all right, let's see it first. So I think those are kind of the fun things that fans get to do. Media, we get to talk about it. We get to hype it up even more. But we have to wait till the fall and the winter for basketball to see things come to fruition. I think they could in Iowa City this year as well. Other news and notes from chatting with players. Everybody's getting married in Iowa City, it sounds like. I guess it's like a line to the altar. What other news and notes did you get from talking to some guys yesterday on the football side of things?
Yeah, so Hank Brown got engaged. We talked to Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown, and one of the things I think maybe I glossed over a little bit this offseason was the fact that Iowa didn't go to the portal to get a quarterback. And that's bucking a recent trend, because Iowa's been super portal heavy in bringing in quarterbacks, whether that be Cade McNamara, Brendan Sullivan, Mark Gronowski. I mean, Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown are both transfer portal guys, but this particular offseason, Iowa didn't go to the portal. So that speaks to the Iowa staff's belief that what they have in the room is going to be good enough. It speaks to their belief in Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown, whoever wins the job, to be someone that they think can produce. So that I think just something that kind of came to the top of my mind speaking with them is that there is that belief that even though Iowa doesn't know who that guy is going to be yet, they have belief that whoever it's going to be is going to be ready for the moment. So that's I think it's good in the sense of you finally wanted to get some stability in the quarterback room, because it's just been a revolving door really early on. I mean, some of it is not Tim Lester's fault as he's tried to rebuild that room, it just was not in a good place towards the end of the Brian Ferentz era. I think now it's at a point where you're starting to be able to see guys develop year after year, at least have a chance to develop, because now Hank Brown is, he came in during bowl prep 2 seasons ago. So now he's really had some time to marinate in the program, to understand the Shanahan system, which we've heard is very difficult to pick up. Jeremy Hecklinski has been in the program now for more than a year. Even the younger guys, Jimmy Sullivan and Ryan Fitzgerald, those guys are now entering their second season in the program. So now you're starting to see finally some stability in that room. And now the hope is that that stability turns into development and production moving forward.
As of July 16th, last one, it's July 16th.
Yeah.
The first snap of the Iowa football season, the quarterback taking the snap will be who?
I'll say Matt Randazzo. No.
Yes! Finally!
No, I'll say Jeremy Hecklinski. I mean, it's very close from everyone I've talked to, but I would say Hecklinski. He has the arm talent. I think he is I think he has a higher ceiling, but a lower floor probably because he takes more risks, and that's a line that he has kind of had to walk. I think Hank Brown is probably the safer option in terms of he might not be able, his ceiling might be lower, but his floor might be a little higher. The other thing, and this is, so my answer is Jeremy Hecklinski. I'm not copying out. That'll be my answer right now. But the other thing I would point out is that there's we've talked a lot about who's going to be the starting quarterback. This is obviously a huge storyline coming into the season. But here's the saving grace for Iowa fans is that Iowa can win without good quarterback play. So let's say it's not good. Let's say neither one is good. Iowa can still win 9 games. Yeah. Like Iowa could still win 8 games because they've done it before. They've won games with Deacon Hill at quarterback. They've won games. Jackson Stratton is undefeated as Iowa's starting quarterback, 2-0. So that's my saving grace is that you have an offensive line that we think will be good even after losing Logan Jones, Jennings Dunker, Bo Stevens to the NFL. And you have a really good running back room, and you have a really good tight end room, and you have a defense that questions about the defensive line, but you think would be good. So that's my saving grace for Iowa fans when you're kind of stressed about is Jeremy Hecklinski going to be good enough? Is Hank Brown going to be good enough? Iowa can still win games either way.
It's funny. We started the week with Kakert, and he said he says, Hank, you end the week because we're no show tomorrow. You say Jeremy, and I think what all that says is not that you guys don't agree. And I don't think either one, and neither of you are confident. You know what I mean? It's not like you're placing any big bets. I think that's the storyline. It's going to be a fascinating competition in Iowa City, and there's more work to be done for whomever is going to be the quarterback. There's more work to be done, and it's going to start real soon. Big Ten Media Days come up later in July. I think late next week, something like that. And then Iowa has Media Day August 14th. We're going to be doing this goofy little show from the Iowa practice facility on August 14th once again as well for the second straight time. We're going to see if we can convince Tyler at some point during his busy day to swing by and say hi. I don't know if it'll work out, but we always have a chair for you to come hang out with us over and off the air. Welcome back from vacation, my friend. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks, my man.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
That is Tyler Tachman. And it's funny because I mentioned it. Football-wise, there's a lot of big storylines going into the season. That quarterback one, it is what it is. It's going to be the biggest one heading forward. Back to basketball coming up next. Frank Garza, Luka Garza's dad. Luka, of course, all-time leading scorer at Iowa. Had a great season with the Boston Celtics. They've got a camp coming to Iowa once again this year. We're going to talk about that, get Frank's thoughts on Iowa basketball, Luka's development, a lot to get to. A great conversation with Frank Garza coming up next. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. So joining us now, a familiar face to Iowa fans, Iowa basketball fans especially, Frank Garza, Luka Garza's dad, joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. First and foremost, Frank, I always love catching up with you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Matt. Always great seeing you as well.
Yeah, it's a fun time. You guys are busy as ever. A lot of different things I want to talk to you about, but I want to start with the Luka Garza Academy. It's a skills camp. It's been all over the state over these past several years. Before we talk about the details of this one, I guess it's a dumb question, but why? Like, why is it important for Luka, yourself, to come back to the state of Iowa and do this event and these camps every single year?
Great question, Matt. And I'm glad you brought it up at this stage. Is one of the most important things when we first came to Iowa, was that incredible weekend where we saw women's basketball Thursday, and then the men played Friday, and then Saturday was the outdoor wrestling, and then the football game. It was just a magical time. It was like 70 degrees in that period of time. I think it was November when that happened. But one of the folks at the men's game, they came up to us and they were from Keokuk, and I got a little shot of Keokuk right here behind me in the winter. And people came from all over the state to watch the Hawkeyes, and it just impressed upon us just how much people are so plugged into the community. It was one of the advantages of coming to Iowa, was to having that. And it was similar for me when I went to school at Idaho. We didn't have a pro team, so everyone came and supported this. So that was important. I wanted to have for Luka to be able to because in high school, we'd have 20 people at the game because he was going to Murray School and it wasn't really emphasizing sports. It was more academics. So it was a chance for him to really, get that love, if you will. And so we made a decision because, Matt, Iowa's been our field of dreams, right? And we said we want to give back and go to places that no one else would be willing to go. Just like people from Keokuk drove, and for 3 generations have been coming that night when they introduced himself in November on his first recruit trip, and Fayette, and now Indianola and Sioux City and all these different places. We want to go where no one else would really want to go because it's not about money for us. It's about giving back to the community and to share that love back to what Luka received and my family received during our time at U of I.
Yeah, he made such an impact on Iowa basketball, on Iowa families around the state, and it's fantastic for him to keep coming back. I want to talk about the event. It's the Luka Garza Academy Skills Camp. It's coming up August 17th and August 19th. I'm going to go backwards in order. I know you usually go chronological, but I'm going to go with the 19th in Indianola because Frank, I don't know if you know this. If I had no hat on, I got a lot more gray hairs than I used to. I'm getting to be that old guy. And Chris Street was my guy growing up. And obviously, when you think Indianola, Iowa, you think Chris Street. I know Luka won the Chris Street Award several times, probably at Iowa. Yes. It seems like a great fit. Can you talk about being in Indianola? And it's not by mistake that Indianola is a place where you wanted to hit up this year, is it?
Not at all. We've been wanting to go to Indianola for some time now, Matt. And, I called up Mr. Street. I talked to Mike and asked for his blessing if it would be okay to do. And he said yes, and he was feeling really good about it. So we wanted to first make sure that was okay because it's our Forever 40 camp to honor what it means to be a Hawkeye. And I've read his autobiography, and of course, Fran had his picture up there in the locker room and honored that, and we want to keep that tradition going because really that's what it's all about is his example, which influenced Luka's journey and what we were doing. So we wanted to again honor his contribution and the whole, what he represented, because he is such a, a marrow deep core principle of the program in terms of not just being a basketball player, but as a human being. And that was very important to us. So we wanted to make sure we did that. And we felt it was time to do that, particularly with the change that happened at Hawkeye basketball. Just kind of a reminder of what Hawkeye basketball is all about. It's not about one person or one personality or anything like that. And although there are those great personalities that made the programs go, dating back from Lute Olson, even George Raveling, all the way forward, but that each has had a contributed a verse into the history of Hawkeye sports. But I think Chris Street's example is at the pinnacle of all that, and we wanted to just have those chords of resonate again, and by doing this event there.
Well said. Frank Garza joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. It's coming to Fayette before that on the 17th. If you're a young person in these areas and just in the surrounding areas as well, I've seen it firsthand. You've been in the Quad Cities with the camp. I've loved watching it, covering it. It is hands-on. It's not, you're not going to go there and shoot over in the corner by yourself. Luka is extremely hands-on. Frank is extremely hands-on as well. Can you give us the synopsis of the experience going to the Luka Garza Academy and they're hitting the skills camp coming up later in August?
Yeah. Hey, thank you for that question. It's basketball camp, but it's really a leadership camp, and it's really about taking leadership of your own future. And dreams become real when the person in front of you is a dream come true. And that's Luka's journey. So it means more when you see dreams actually tangible in front of you. And what we not only want to teach some skills that no other camps teach besides the skyhook, we're going to be showing some of the other moves that Luka used, but we're really going to speak about the inner game of basketball, Matt, because the first shot's between the ears. Your toughest opponent is yourself. So if we can teach at a young age how you can develop some skills and manage that, then the rest is a hot knife through butter and becomes a life skill, because you're able to understand that inner voice. You're able to understand that we only perform on the outside in a way that's consistent with our internal alignment. So work on the inside first and the outside works. It doesn't work the other way around.
What and Frank, you mentioned the leadership. I think the last time you were in the Quad Cities was probably a few months before I made a life change. I remember calling you and texting you and saying, hey, I know that was a basketball camp, but here I am covering it and listening to it. And so I think kids get a great message. They get to see Luka. We're going to, Luka Garza Academy.com is the easiest way to go about it. We'll put the information up. We'll talk a little bit about it at the end of our conversation again, but a fantastic way to get your youngster involved. And real quick too, it spans, I think it's 2nd to 6th grade in one, and then 7th to senior year in high school, 12th grade in the other. You're looking at getting as many, if you love basketball, this is kind of the place to go.
Absolutely. And I remember that in Quad Cities you were there, because what we were talking about, we have rules in our camp. The first rule is we want you to be loyal to your future and not your past. There's no future in the past. We don't care who taught you this, who taught you that. We're going to show you how it's done. So we want you to be loyal to your future, because every thought, every self-talk is either a vote, Matt, for your future or a vote for your past. So we ask you, how are you voting? The second rule is Newton's third law of motion, which says in order to move forward, in order to advance, to get better, you must be willing to leave something behind. And when kids learn that, oh, wow, what do I need to leave behind? Well, it's your old habits, attitudes, beliefs, and expectations that don't serve your future self. And once they understand that skill, then it's easy for them to go, okay, hey, that behavior isn't taking me to where I want to go, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to leave it behind. I don't need to take it with me, because sometimes it's the first time they've ever heard those kind of skill sets in a basketball camp.
Absolutely. No, you get an assist on that day. I know Luka likes to score. He likes to assist as well. I'll give you an assist on that day. Frank, I want to talk about Luka because it was a fantastic season. Iowa fans, I know, have loved watching his journey continue in the NBA. And I think we've talked several times before. He's transformed his body. His game is at the best it's ever been. He found a new home in Boston this past season. Could you have imagined, if I talked to you a year ago right now, that the experience was going to be the way it was and the impact that Luka had throughout the season on a really good Celtics team? What was this last season like for not just Luka, yourself, and everything he's put into his basketball journey?
Yeah, great question. Great insightful question, Matt. It's very similar to Luka's entire journey. When he was tripping on the foul line as a ninth grader, I was speaking to him, hey, it's not where you are now, it's where you want to be. Be loyal to your future. So having the Celtics find him, because Brad Stevens had been tracking him through Iowa and all the rest of it. And so it was just waiting for the right moment. And again, the harder you work, the luckier you become. And we kept speaking. I said, look, we're just going to keep on doing what we do. Don't let what you cannot do get in the way of what you can do. So let's just keep doing our thing. And I promise you, someone will notice. And Brad Stevens noticed that Lucas shot in practice more shots than any other NBA player, not by a factor of just 100, by 15,000 shots. He shot, the guy that was second shooting more after practice was 15,000 shots away. The guy second was over 22,000 shots away. So when it comes to a work ethic, Luka set the bar. And that was important for what the Celtics are all about, because I refer to it as the Cathedral of Excellence, and I can't think of any better steward than Coach Mazzulla and Brad Stevens and staff. So this is the thing I want, with people when to get with the camps, which is, tend to your own garden, make it so attractive, the butterflies will come to you. And that was, in a way, a metaphor for what happened with the Celtics. We knew that someone would be paying attention to the body transformation, 270 to 250, 14% body fat to 6, to becoming, now he's the number one NBA three-point shooter for a big, which I knew he would always be if he had the moment to be able to get there and do it, to be one of the top 5 offensive rebounders. And you're going to see those percentages go up, including his free throw percentage. So that's the key, is tend to your garden and then leave the rest to the boss upstairs.
No, he's done a good
and
job
watch
of that.
what happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Frank,
yes.
You look at it too. I think the last time I might have talked to Luka, it was after a season. I think he was still with Minnesota, and he was down in the locker room because he had a workout to go to. And the reason I bring that up is because he's been as busy as can be this offseason. World Cup stuff we'll talk about here in a second, and that's been fantastic. But some players would probably see the breakthrough season and kind of make maybe a sigh of relief and go, kind of rest. I don't think Luka was that player. What's it done for him? Because knowing Luka, knowing yourself, it's probably fed the hunger even more to continue to do what you guys have been doing. Probably knowing you guys, you've gone up a couple notches when it comes to the offseason as well.
Yeah, most definitely. We didn't do the Tarzan initiative this summer because he played a lot. So there was a lot of body tear, but we did more higher quality types of workouts. So we did a couple a day, which he's doing now and continue to do. But we did much more internal work, the inner game of basketball, and refined it. And each year we get better. It was interesting. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was recalling the discussion I had with Luka after his senior year in college. And I said, listen, Luka, your game won't translate to the NBA. And he was like, what do you mean, Dad? My inside game? He goes, well, what I need to change? You're going to need to change everything. And look at it today. Luka doesn't need to score. And he led the country in scoring 2 years ago. He doesn't need to score. He needs to screen. So he became one of the most efficient screeners in the NBA. The other one, he has to become a phenomenal rebounder, which he became. And so look at it. His game is the opposite of what it was in college in terms of possessions, in terms of shot attempts. And what has he done? He's become what a team needs as a solution to help them win. And that part, that mental change, is one of the hardest things, which is why when you mentioned the thirst and the hunger, because you can't fill a glass that's already full, Matt. And a lot of NBA players have a hard time with that transition because they want to be the guy. They want to do that. And guess what? Everyone in the NBA was the man at college. So what you've got to do is to become a solution. In order to become a solution, you have to realize that I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to figure it out, and I'm going to do whatever the coach needs as a solution as opposed to just being a player. Become a solution. So that's what Luka's become for teams. Stretch the court, get offensive rebounders, being the highest efficient screener so guys get open, help others get open as opposed to you getting the ball all the time. And that takes humility.
Frank Garza joining us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. Frank, he's part of the World Cup. He's been overseas. Talk about, we did a little bit before we started, but obviously it's been beneficial. He's been impressive. What's this offseason been like on the court when it comes to that aspect of his offseason?
Well, yeah, great question. It was, playing in Europe in some of those crowds is very difficult. They are, it's a loud gym. It's like, playing in Serbia, there's nothing like it. The crowd, plus it was Serbia versus Bosnia, so there's some history there. And they were very professional, very respectful. So, they've outgrown some of that stuff and whatnot. But the point is, a very difficult environment. So it was really an incredible test for him to show up and then play, understand what's going on, and fit in there with the team. And so it was very beneficial. We played Turkey, which was the runner-up to the World Championship, previously. So they were number 2 in the world, and we almost beat them. We were right till the end, almost beat them. And then going to Serbia, playing against Jokic head on, and that was a fabulous experience. So it was really helping Luka mold and improve the game and do the things that we've been working on in an environment that was very challenging. So very beneficial for him to be able to go out there and express his game for, his mother's country, and a promise he made to his grandfather to play for Bosnia. After turning down, Matt, 3 times to play for the USA team, which the guy last time he called me said, Frank, this is the last time I'm calling you. I said, I understand, but my son's a man of principles over personalities, and I'm not going to ask him to rewind what we taught him, but he's going to follow through. So this was also a big moment for him to play in front of his family on the European side, his grandmother, and it was really a special lot of psychic income besides the basketball. I only played 20 minutes and averaged 22 points and 8 rebounds during that period of time. So and shot 89% from the free throw line, and and in the high 60s from the field. So he really showed his effectiveness on the world stage.
Frank, I got to ask you, during the season, obviously fantastic year with the Celtics. It was, and we know the love for Iowa. Iowa's all-time leading scorer. It was a pretty special season in Iowa City as well with the Iowa basketball program. Oof. Obviously, a different look to that program as well. Fran and Pat Penn no longer at the University of Iowa. Is Luka watching from afar? His thoughts on maybe the new era at Iowa with basketball and the Elite Eight and being the all-time leading scorer. Was he watching from afar? Was he cheering from afar? His thoughts, or maybe your thoughts, not just his, on the new era maybe of Iowa basketball.
Yeah, thank you for the question. No, of course he was watching, and we were cheering it on. And we're a Hawkeye for life. I mean, that's just how it is, and that won't change ever. And the thing about Luka, I saw some people criticizing him because he wasn't on social media. And the difference in what Luka did this year, he didn't do any Twitter. He got off social media because why? His job was to become a solution, and that stuff's very distracting. So we cut that out. I mean, every year to get better, you got to leave some stuff behind. So staying on social media is a detriment to his game because of just the amount of criticism that's out there, and it's from people maybe sitting in the basement, living with their mother, eating nachos, and whatever it is. That's unfair of me, but I'm just saying some of those comments are from some armchair person who unemployed perhaps, or doing just mad at the world, trying to feel better by running other people down. It's called the okay, not okay theory in psychology, which is the way for me to feel okay is to make you feel not okay.
Yeah.
And it's just not healthy for a player to see that. So he stayed off social media. And that's why he wasn't on social media, not just because of the Iowa thing. No, because he was off social media. But I guarantee you, he was watching and cheering and loving what happened and couldn't be any happier for what went down there and just looking for more of the same for that program because again, we're Hawkeyes for life and that will never change. It's our field of dreams. And why I remember we were on this before, and I talked to you about Fran and how I felt about him, and I feel the same way about him today and always will. And we love him and always will. And he was a special coach and just perfect for Luka. And that's history that can't be changed. And of course, Fran went out and did his magical thing. White magic, right? I mean, here he is out there continuing to do what he does because he's going to continue to do what he does, and that's just the nature of life. The only thing that's constant is change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is it? And you mentioned the social media nonsense. Someday, Frank, when I'm done with what I do for a living, I'm probably going to get off that stuff because you're right. It can be. But is it difficult to balance that? Because not just the social media, but I've talked to several people that played for Fran. They're Fran guys, but they're still Hawkeyes and they're proud of what happened. Former players. Is it tough to balance, or is it pretty simple that you're a Hawkeye that can still love Fran for what he did for your son and for whomever it is? Is it a tough balancing act, or is it pretty simple?
I would imagine it is tough. A lot of the teammates went to the Final Eight, and had a great time with it, and we were fully in support of that. I mean, to me, it's simple, not easy. The simple part is you're Hawkeye for life, and you're going to support not only that, football, volleyball, women's I mean, we're supporting all of it. The track and field, the chess club, the debate club, the whatever it is, we're Hawkeyes for life. So the high tide raises all boats. So to me, it's simple. But again, change is difficult. I mean, face it, it took over 1,800 years for us to finally recognize that the sun doesn't orbit the earth. Right? And so in a similar way, change is slow and dragging. So we've got to account for feelings and maybe the way things went down and no one's perfect and this and that. But in time, the reality is this: we are Hawkeyes for life. It is our field of dreams, and nothing's going to change that. And we choose to honor all the beautiful things that Fran did there. We wouldn't have been able to accomplish what we did without Fran McCaffrey, and that's why he's part of our inner circle. He's family. We love him, his entire family. We'll do anything for him, as we would for Hawkeyes around, but Fran's will forever be in our hearts, and we support him and all of his whatever he does because he's an excellent, unique human being that has contributed so much to basketball. And I wish I had a coach. I mean, I had a phenomenal coach, but I wish some of the things that he did with Luka in terms of being a player's coach. I just. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal when you look at what he's been able to do and continues to do. He's a basketball genius.
Yeah, you look at it, Frank. I want to ask you just about his season. He goes to Penn, his alma mater, and there he is making it to the NCAA tournament with his alma mater. You had to love watching that, and I think Iowa fans will. You mentioned time heals all. Like it's almost with like presidents sometimes. Like the further you remove yourself from the situation, the more you probably appreciate the job that they did. And I think Iowa fans, the more time goes, the more they'll realize what Fran did. Talk about watching Fran this past season at Penn, at his alma mater. A special story from him as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember watching the first game going, okay, Fran's doing the work. I mean, they were playing, I think it was St. John's or Oregon playing someone almost had him beat, and just, I don't know if it was St. John, I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was just, I could see his magic dust with all the players and how hard they played and all the things he's able to inspire in young people. You know, when you hand off your kid to college, you're really asking, you know, particularly with the basketball, to help him mature into a man. You know, and that's what Fran did besides the basketball, you know, because life, you know, sports is life in the miniature, beginning and end. There's rules, there's this and that. So Fran's a master at that. And when I see him doing that, I got goosebumps. Even get goosebumps now talking about, because he's just a world class person and a tribute to the game. You know, he makes the game better, and you could see that by the loyalty of his players and how much they love him for what he did. And, you know, some of the most wisest words ever spoken on earth is the following: this too shall pass.
Frank Garza joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. Hey, have you, watching Iowa from afar, have you met Ben McCollum? Have you, your thoughts on the job that he did at Iowa? You're a basketball junkie, you know the game a little bit, of course. Have you met him? Your thoughts of what he did from maybe the outside looking in?
Yes, thanks for that question. Now I haven't met him yet. We've been playing phone tag, and he called me. I called him first, and he called me back, and then we've been back. Then he had the whole thing with the draft.
Yeah.
He had to go through that, which was fantastic. I was love to see that. But you know, what a beautiful fit for the program, bringing him in and his record. And of course, my coach was a defensive master. And so I remember early on with Luka, because one of the deals I made with Fran was I'd get to watch practice, you know, just to, you know, because those early periods of time. And as I always told Fran, I get him in the summer, you get him during the season, and you watch how he came back every year better, because the winter will tell what the summer did, right? And so I was sitting there going to Luka, hey, when are you guys working on defense, man? What's going on here? Because I never saw him in the practice. He says, hey, Dad, we just doing this. And I'm like, what? So that philosophy, it dates back to the early days of basketball, particularly in former Yugoslavia, which is, hey, we're just going to outscore you to death. And they did, and they won world championships. And so there's nothing wrong with that philosophy. They even happened in the LA, that early teams with, I forget the name of the coach there. Yeah. And before Showtime, the guy that, anyway, that's what they did. Hey, we're just going to outscore you to death, and that works. But for me as a player, it's defense wins games, period. And so I love to see, you know, Ben bring that fervor back and have that going on out there, because I think it's, and not like that Fran didn't understand defense or this or that, but his beautiful press was a great defensive thing. Sloan taking 8 to 10, 4 or 5 seconds off bringing the ball up, guys being inspired. And face it, in college basketball, you need to play defense, but it's at a different level, and you get away with some things with some quickness and some other advantages they did. So it was just one of those things. And again, we go back to that Oregon defeat. Had we been able to keep getting the ball inside, that would have been, we would have went past that second game. And the year before, the COVID year, if they had a chance to play, I think that was the Final Four team, period. And so, you know, we didn't get the full expression of what Fran had put together. But I'll tell you this, my coach in college was the defensive guy. I was the best defensive player on my team because of his teachings. And, you know, the work that some of which I posted on getting Luka to now make defense, because now he's an elite defender where he wasn't before. His quickness of his hands and this and that are a result of the training that my coach gave me, that we then worked hard on, very hard on. And you see he's got his hand up every time on that, his quickness of his hands, his movement of his feet. So he's really, again, because he changed everything from what he did in college. But for what Ben and those men did, outstanding. Just like what Fran did with his year, with really hardly any NIL money to put that team together to make it happen. So it does help to have a big funding of NIL to bring players in too. But
can you imagine
the stewardship?
Frank, can you imagine NIL? Sorry to interrupt, but can you imagine NIL when Luka was around. Like, does Luke ever I mean, we had a great conversation with Joe Wieskamp on the show a month ago, maybe. And like afterwards we're catching up and chopping it up. And he said, like, I think at some point when that came up and he's like, what would I have gotten these days? And I'm like, well, you're 6'7", you shoot 40% from three, you're athletic. I'm guessing $3 to $4 million. And he's just like,
Exactly.
Do you ever think of that with Luka? And even just like the personality that Luka was. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty fun name, image, and likeness to sell in the state of Iowa, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And we think about it, but not too long, because, you can get there and go, oh my gosh. And there's no future in the past, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, even when the NCAA and that lawsuit, we agreed to the numbers. We weren't going to go outside and sue them for more money, because the player of the year gets 50% more on average than any other player. So he would have been in the $6-7 million. The Serbian kid at UCLA is getting $12 million.
Yeah.
So being a national player of the year 2 years in a row, I mean, in terms of Big Ten and sporting news, he would have been getting more money than he's amassed the first 4 years, because this will be a 6-year in the NBA. And that's just how it is. And, I do believe it was time for players to get paid, because they are making a tremendous commitment, and the demands to play and then go to school are very, very difficult, and not having enough money to go home to see people on Christmas, because the NCAA says you can't do that, while they're hoarding in millions and millions of dollars.
Billions.
And the people that yeah, billions, right? And the production function, which are the players not getting anything, right, in terms of the money, has really been unfair. And in some, it's dating back to 1960, books written about it's a form of servitude that needed to be corrected. So we're happy it happened. There'll be some, there's never a static change. There's always an overcorrection, and then boom, undercorrection, and then we find a balance. And I think that is coming. But still, the amount of money schools are making for all this stuff, it's about time that the players get to participate in that, because some will never make it to the NBA. And this is their chance to springboard and then be able to do that, because the amount of commitment, Matt, that you're very aware of, to be effective at the Power 4 conferences, used to be Power 5, Power 4 conferences, is more work than most people ever put in their life, in their profession.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, Frank, that these guys, they'll make more money, and now there's the 5-for-5 thing in, so you get 5 years to basically play. They're going to make more money between 18 and 23 than they might make for the rest of their lives. So it's important for them to get that opportunity. I will say this too, and you mentioned in the last question, I tell people all the time, there was the drought with the Sweet 16 for Iowa, but you mentioned it. If COVID wasn't a thing, the year they didn't have the NCAA tournament, I remember being in Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament and they had just lost in a fantastic game to the Illinois, who was really good. They had beaten Illinois earlier this year, and they were really good. And then you look at that next season, and every bad matchups, along with Oregon didn't have to play the first game, so they're well rested. You're traveling around different areas. It was just weird. So I agree with you 1,000%. I tell people all the time, you never know when you're going to get a Sweet 16, Elite 8, but I felt like those 2 years probably would have been one if things were a little bit different. Before I let you go, tell people about, give us the sell on the Academy before you get out of here. Give us the sell if you're a young person, you're in the central Iowa area, you're in the Indianola area. Give us the sell on why to get out for Luka Garza's skills camp coming up here real soon.
Well, what I would just say is just my own experience, which I can share, which is, I use camp to help provide oxygen to the ignition inside Luka. Sometimes all it takes is a spark, and that changes a kid's life for the rest of their life. So the purpose of coming to our camp is that there's no better spark plug than Luka Garza. And he's a guy that works at campus, hands-on. He's sweating more than anyone else. And for a young person, and again, dreams become real when the person in front of you is a dream come true. You know, it's not just something you read in a book. Here's a dream come true right in front of you.
Yeah.
An average, and in some cases a below average athlete with extraordinary habits, achieving extraordinary results because of the habits, speaks to everyone that if he could do it, anyone could do it. That's one of the great things that Abe Lincoln said, who had no more than the 7th grade education. He said, hey, the fact that I'm here should be an example for anyone. You can do what you want. The issue is mindset and inside out, because you only perform on the outside in a manner consistent with your inside. And we teach those skills in that camp, so which is unique to any other camp out there. And so the point is, come get that spark that ignites that flame, and get some oxygen to make that flame burn bright. And most times, that's all that's needed, is just to hear it come from someone different than because what we're saying, the parents are what we're saying too, but coming from Luka, coming from our other coaches, we have great coaches. Austin, who's working for the NBA. We got Jared Cruz, who's from Fayette, working at USC. We got Chris Morrow, who works with women's basketball there. You got me, you got Luka. So we're going to have a very special guest showing up in Fayette. I can't tell who it is, but it's a big time one.
Nice
so
tease.
We've got some
well
fun.
Done.
Yeah, nice. It's a deep tease, right?
I love it.
We got all that things coming, but the idea is come get some oxygen for that flame inside your kids, and see the dream come true in front of you. It makes it much more tangible for people to believe in themselves, this is a basketball camp, but it's really a leadership camp. What kind of leadership? Leadership of yourself, your own thoughts, and your own self-talk, because it's either a vote for your future self or a vote for your past, period.
I love it. Frank, I always enjoy the conversations with you. Be well. I will talk to, we're going to get Luka on here a little closer to the camp itself. Tell Luka we said hello. We'll catch up with you again real soon. I appreciate you, Frank.
Outstanding. Thank you, Matt.
All right. That is Frank Garza. And guys, I'm here to tell you, it is not your normal basketball camp. It's just not. If you're thinking you're going to go sit in the corner and shoot some baskets and get an autograph and get out, you're not. It's hands-on. It's fun. Your youngster will love it. Go to LukaGarzaAcademy.com and take advantage of an NBA guy. NBA and the Iowa's all-time leading scorer is going to work with you. It's pretty cool. So we got a lot more to get to. You watch it Off the Air on a Thursday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. For over 65 years, Linquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Linquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hello, Crawford Company.
You're not gonna believe this. My air conditioning, plumbing, and electricity are all on the fritz at the same time.
Well, lucky for you, we do all three.
Hey, it's the Crawford guy. One call to Crawford can fix all your household problems. For heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical, count on the experts at Crawford Company.
Like me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Thursday, July 16th. And it's my last day before vacation, so I'm excited about that. It's been a fun summer here in the Quad Cities, here on OTA. We're going to take a little week off, so no show tomorrow, no shows next week. We will be back ready to rock the following Monday, I believe Monday, July 28th. A lot of great things planned in August. Already looking forward to the View from the West /OTA kickoff party at the Other Bar in Moline. That is on August 9th, Sunday evening. We'll do the show live right here on YouTube, on X, also on View from the West YouTube page as well. So if you haven't followed that, you should be following that and subscribe to that as well. So excited about that. Also, August 16th is the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet. That is at the Stern Center in Rock Island as well. Also, August 14th is Iowa Football Media Day. The plan is, as of right now, to do this show once again live from the Iowa football facility. Did it last year. Boy, things went great. So looking forward to hopefully doing that again this year as well. So August, extremely busy. We'll start previewing high school football teams. We'll have a different coach on each and every day as well. So a lot to get to. We'll look ahead to Iowa football, Iowa State football, Illinois football as well. A lot to get to coming up in August and late July as well. So enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed this week. If you missed anything, go back and check it out. On Monday, Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report, Bill Seals from the Cyclone Report, and John Marks were all on the show. On Tuesday, we had Jack Heflin on the show. Really enjoyed that. Also did some NFC North talk with Bobby Metcalf, so go check out Tuesday's show as well. Wednesday was all Brian Stocking, Stockpile Snacks. A lot of fun with Brian Stocking, so check out that show yesterday. And then today, boy, that was a lot of fun. Tyler Tachman talking a ton of Iowa athletics when it comes to the open practice for the media yesterday. Who I don't know. I think it's who stood out. English was never my strong suit. Who stood out yesterday? Cooper Kachi mentioned Trevin Urick as well. So go check out the good stuff that Tyler Tachman had. And then always great to catch up with Frank Garza. Again, it's Luka Garza Academy.com. Click on the skills camp. Get your son signed up. Your daughter signed up as well. For the camp coming up. One is August 17th, one is August 19th. And we'll have Luka Garza here on the show coming up in early August, to talk more about the camp, his career, and much, much more. Really interesting stuff from Frank Garza as well. Had to ask him about Iowa basketball, of course. There was that not with Luka, I don't think as much, but balancing act maybe with former Hawkeyes and now the new era and the success and all of those kind of things. And Frank said Luka and the Garzas were we're thrilled to see what happened with Iowa basketball this past season. Excited to get to meet Ben McCollum here soon. So go check that out if you missed it with Frank Garza here today on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. So once again, I want to thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Go get caught up on the shows throughout the break, if you will. And don't forget about us when we come back on July 28th with a brand new episode of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you to our sponsors as well. We can't do this show without you. A couple more starting in August as well. Excited about that. So a lot of great things around the corner here in the Quad Cities, here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys after vacation, if I survive, with my wife and kids coming up on Monday, July 28th. We'll see you then.